Okay, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the AntonioTalks talk show. Today I have a guest on the show who I've never actually met before. We've never come across each other, but through a kind acquaintance introduced us, so I'm really grateful for that. So thank you very much, Jamie Leonard, for supporting there and getting such a great guest on the show. So, Jon, I won't introduce you. I'd let yourself introduce you. But today we have Jon Hull, Head of Resourcing at Nationwide, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going?
Thank you. Good, thanks. So, brief introduction, 20 odd years in the recruitment space and HR for a variety of companies, from investment banks, professional services, distribution businesses worldwide, and now back into retail banking. Real early adopter of social and digital attraction and branding back in the day, and very passionate about the kind of candidate experience and how you connect hiring managers and candidates really to make the world a better place for the business.
Amazing. Thanks very much for sharing that. So I suppose, looking at your experience, so it's how you've sort of done that circle. So how have you found, the different places in terms of, their receptiveness to innovation when it comes to recruitment experiences and recruitment in general?
I don't think it's different to any other line of business. There's always early adopters and there's always people who are sceptical or fearful of that change. But once, I guess the recruiter's job or the resourcing job is to educate the management community on where people are, where they hang out, and the best way to find them. That's the key thing. So there's not, and it doesn't become burdensome for the manager. And that's our job, is to find those channels, understand the candidate kind of place, and then find ways of attracting them in and engaging them, and that's the ultimate job that we do, right? And make sure they're the right ones, for the business.
Amazing. And so, what do you think the main challenges for, currently for yourself are, as a business?
Yeah. I think if you take our business in general, it's the technology challenge, not dissimilar to other retail banks, moving from the high street to a more digital and kind of multi-channel space. With that competition comes, how do we attract that talent, techies or innovators? That's twofold. So it's one, understanding that landscape, but it's number two is changing the culture of the business to be able to receive them. So those people will be attracted by potentially different things that our traditional workforce might be attracted by. So it's creating a kind of messaging framework to say this is a good place, but also making sure the environment is right once they land, so that we keep them. And I don't think that's different to any other major business. But we're here in kind of Shoreditch, Hoxton. Yeah. Lots of startups, lots of people who have cool, funky spaces. Guess what? Retail bank isn't like that, but it can be attractive to those players.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, one of the main roles of our business is to essentially do that. And I think if you have a look at how do you make a somewhat or I guess previously seen stuffy organisation, seem like a desirable place to work, and those are so how do you guys think that you're doing that right now?
Well, it's kind of to be human about it, right? Yeah. So techies aren't different to other groups, except they want the right place to work, they want the right environment, and they want to be able to have a job with purpose and have the tools to do it, right? Now that messaging may be different for that community than it is to, say, marketeers or HR professionals, but it's creating that, understanding it first of all through research and market research, and then finding the right media and platforms to discuss, and that's ultimately what we want to do. You need to seed the market first, and then get your people talking about why it's a great place to work, not some flashy recruitment stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Our people are our most powerful communicator, and once we tip that flywheel and they are allowed to communicate across many platforms, that brings so many benefits, right?
Yeah, that's right. And how well do you think organisations out there do at demonstrating, rather than, because I see in the market there's just a lot of people telling them people how innovative they are. Yeah. We're this, we're that, we believe in this, we believe in that. But I think in the places like social, you know, these channels, and it's not necessarily just LinkedIn or Instagram or anything like that, you know, even on Stack Overflow or GitHub, you know, demonstrating that innovation by just supplying open source code. How well do you think organisations do that?
I think it's mixed. I mean, some are better than others, and it's a challenge because you know, we're corporate organisations and we like to control the message rather than allow people to tell their story and their message. And and obviously there's a happy medium to say you can't go and say something really stupid, but you've got to be authentic in your kind of positioning. And I think the best way to do that is allow your people in this particular way, the developers or the people building the infrastructure, to do that and connect directly with that audience, or allow to possess messages that resonate with that audience on the right platforms. I don't think anyone is amazing at it, you know, and there are some people that, I guess some recruiters are still stuck in the past where you say this is about broadcast and it's about how many more jobs I buy on Stack, or you know, I need a LinkedIn careers page, which you might need, but it's about that human element. You know, recruitment is about that human connection, right? And that's what we should be about. And it's encouraging that, whether that's the recruiter, hiring manager, organisationally, allowing people to make connections, because ultimately you're at work and you want to make great connections to do a great job. You know.
Yes. And so these, I think just to hammer on that note, you know, the sort of the old school recruiter type. Do you find that organisations are very reactive when it comes to hiring instead of active?
Well, I think most real organisations are reactive, and that kind of needs to change for different groups. But that's really about providing a great candidate experience. You know, can the candidates access you collectively in the right way, whether that's your careers site, whether it's social platforms, whether it's real people, all of that, but can they find you, easily, and are you accessible to engage? So the human element to that, which we tell our recruiters, is we could automate the whole of the recruitment process now in 2018, right? That is possible. But why will candidates drop out? Because they don't get to talk to anybody, and they will never really understand what it's like to work there. So if there's nothing, that the human element of recruitment is actually those conversations with the hiring community or a candidate to actually make them feel safe, this is going to be a good place, or even select out, but actually I'll recommend someone else for you. So going back to the 20 odd years ago in recruitment agencies, where you sit on the phones and talk to people, the rest is could be done by tech, right? We know that. Yeah,
of course. So talking about, previously, a couple of years back, I worked for, previous to running Recruited, I worked for Accenture, and I worked on a massive candidate experience transformation program in the UK. And what we were doing it was all based on Net Promoter Score feedback, of course. Yeah. And the main things that come out of that, and I'm trying to remember, the top one was really, people would drop off if they didn't have a personalised experience. It was that was the main one, personalised, and it was if the person didn't have enough information to give them. And then the final one, it was a consistent point of contact. So those two things really are actually three things are really around people, right? So actually, what we noticed was that if we could just have just solve those three problems, we'll up the score, and we'll completely transform it, and we'll transform the experience, and it actually worked, which was amazing. So with that in mind, how much do you think the candidate landscape is changing? Because do you think we're now, because we're so used to consumer experiences, our consumer experiences, when we go into a shop and don't get good service, we'll kick off, or when we go into a restaurant, if we don't get good service, we'll kick off. Well, it depends if you're a service snob, right? Which I definitely am. But do you think that's feeding into now how how we see our careers? Like, so if we don't get a good candidate experience, we'll kick off.
I don't think it's multi-layered. I think there's more of that, but I think it's about, people, candidates, or when we change jobs, are more considered than that. It's a career choice often, or it's a longer term, a 1 to 5 year choice if it's a permanent job, or it's, can we provide for our family, and is it going to be secure? There's lots of other considerations that come in depending on where you are in that journey. But I think definitely it's about, if a candidate is about access, is it relatively easy for me to apply, because if it's not here, it will be over there. So can I do it on my phone or at the click of a button, or can I pick up the phone really easily and get answered? And I think it is about, like you said earlier, the information. Can I make a decision in a relatively quick time whether this is the right thing for me, or do I have to go through several hoops and then realise it's not the right thing for me? 2 weeks down the line. So it's making it easy for the organisation and the candidate, because as a recruiter, really ideally I'd like one application and one interview and one job offer, because I've screened out that sort of audience based on all sorts of different criteria depending on the role and the organisation, because they've made a choice, because actually that's not going to be right for me. And that's right, I don't want volume anymore, I want the right numbers and the right applicants to fill my jobs, because the old days of that, I need 2,000 applications to one hire, and more volume is ridiculous. And still hiring managers, uneducated hiring managers, think I just want more volume, I want an ad and I want more volume. Well, volume's okay if it brings you a result, not for the sake of it.
And that's an interesting point, actually. So when so just going back to it, so talking about the volume and talking about, well, I want one applicant, one interview, one hire,
Ideal world,
one offer.
Yeah.
That's totally ideal. And how close are you to delivering that?
We're not.
But actually, not how close are you. Actually, how close is the industry?
I think some people are getting closer. I don't think you'll ever get one to one. That is utopia. But certainly in certain volume hiring campaigns and programs, you can get better and better at that, because take graduate programs. You don't want to be in the position where you're upsetting hundreds of thousands of candidates, possibly, that if you're a consumer brand may buy from you in the future, or if you're a B2B brand may at some point in the careers recommend your service or not, based on that memory. Right?
That's a really interesting concept, actually, and something I wasn't thinking about before this show, and now actually I'd like to drill down into. So do you feel like if or have you seen data that if you give poor experiences or great experiences, it detracts people from actually participating in your offering also? Or
well, I think people like Virgin have researched that and found that that's the case. If people are declined and have a bad experience, they will turn off the brand. But I think it's more than that. You want, ultimately, from an organisational point of view, we're trying to create a balanced and happy workforce, engaged workforce. You don't want to bring someone in, and that's not just about the attraction piece, that's the whole assessment. You don't want to bring someone in that just won't work out for them or you. So it's okay to say that, and I think there's tools there, both in terms of attraction and pre-assessment, that can weed people out, and they go, yeah, that's cool, and give them some good messages, but knowing that they wouldn't be happy, we wouldn't be happy, and that's okay, because we haven't wasted much time.
Sure.
It's just a kind of an early thing. They go, okay, well, that's good. And there's platforms out there now that can say, from an assessment point of view, say, well, like Pymetrics, that can assess you and say, well, actually, you're not right for company X, but we've got a number of other companies on our network that you might fit the bill for.
How reliable are those, though?
Well, they're well researched. They're good assessment tools that are based on good science. They're still early kind of days, but that seems like a really good way of going about things. And for those platforms, that's great for the messaging, both for that client, if it's us, if we're using them or not, and the candidate.
Amazing. So let's just go into what you were touching on earlier around niche skills and high volume skills. So how different should we be approaching recruiting when it comes to high volume, as opposed to maybe the niche skills or even the senior leadership positions that are coming into the business?
I take volume for. I don't think the mindset's got to be the same. We're trying to create good experiences and clear messaging and good screening process, so people sort of can opt out before you kind of have to kind of do the legwork. So there's that transparency and great messaging, and we're clear about what we stand for as an organisation. Obviously, the kind of adaptability of that, you can't give a highly personalised experience if you've got thousands of applications or thousands of repeatable jobs. But in a volume space, it's ease of application, ease of screening. Ideally, you don't go through loads and loads of hoops before they get to an assessment, face-to-face assessment, whatever that is, so that you're kind of sure that at that point you're kind of 70-80% sure that those candidates are going to be good, and the tools are out there to do it, so it's not overly expensive or burdensome. In the niche space, and the same in the volume space is feedback and more personal touch in the niche space. So you're going to use those platforms, you're going to use social, whatever it is, to find and seek out. But I think now with the advent of kind of CRM tools, Avature, Beamery, you can start to build a longer term relationship with some of those, let's say it's IT or developer skills, to say, well, actually we know where you are, we know you aren't looking now, but we know what your kind of behaviour profile might look like, but we just want to build a relationship and start to give you messages and information over time. That means that when the time is right, we can have a more informed conversation and track that. So I think, again, it's personalisation and bringing the human element into it, because those people in that niche level will never probably have to look for a job. They'll only look when something is about the work and about the attractiveness of the organisation or work-life balance or some trigger that will spark their interest at any point. And your recruiters and your platforms are going to be armed with that information.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great point. So what one of our things that we're big on when we work with our clients is skill specific EVPs. So and actually it's just branches off the main general value proposition, but actually it goes when you're activating on social, it really needs to be around, well, this skill, they respond differently in, say, North America to how someone in the UK would respond to a piece of messaging. So it has to be slightly embellished or slightly changed for it. And what I think
that's right. We'd call out things. We've just done a big EVP research project, and we say, look, there are differences by community or technology being a particular case compared to our retail operations. There is specific either messaging or kind of subtlety that to say, well, actually they'll all be interested, people will be interested by your offer. Nationwide is a different organisation, but you need to sort of emphasise or dial up certain things and maybe talk about the work profile and the tools rather than
exactly.
You won't, right?
Yeah, so, exactly. It's stuff that they would they can align with. So this so when it comes to social, what sort of channels are you guys working on at the moment, and what success are you seeing in terms of return? Because a lot of people say, well, how do I measure that return on investment? We'll plow investment into budget into this for the year, but is it just likes or impressions?
No, well, I think certainly think platforms like LinkedIn, you can track the ROI, whether it's from a sourcing perspective or adverts like any other media. You can see applies, and we can see conversion rates, and we know from the data from LinkedIn that more followers on your career page, the more likely they are to convert into candidates over time. So again, that's about messaging and consistency and profiling your employees and doing all kind of basic stuff that isn't expensive, but you just need to put some time behind it. Twitter and Facebook we use, and I've used in the past in previous organisation. Twitter's been really useful in terms of engagement. So you can't necessarily, could track applications via Twitter, but more importantly, it was about the conversation. You can directly converse with people or hold forums on a particular day or time, especially some of the early careers.
Yeah, the real cool thing about Twitter is that it's from brand to consumer or candidate, whatever you want to call it, engagement is actually it's easy to do on there. Whereas LinkedIn, it's difficult to do that brand to consumer engagement, and Instagram's another channel where it's easy to do. Sorry, carry on.
We're using LinkedIn, Facebook for some advertising, but I guess more the conversation comes down to programmatics and actually the personalisation of advertising. So we know where our personas are, we know the channels they're more likely to use, or we get instant feedback when you're using programmatic to say that's not working, let's go over here. That's a whole mix of different sources of advertising and social. And that is clearly where that space is moving, right?
Of course.
And it becomes much more cost-effective for an organisation, but also brilliant for the candidate, because they don't have to kind of actively search.
Yeah.
The job ads follow them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Well, it's because that's what we're doing every day. We're just doing this, aren't we?
Yeah.
Right. So it's you know, the it's a gold mine in many ways, and so underutilized by many employers.
Yeah.
You know, from a just an activation place. You know, just to activate a messaging, and also, you know, just building communities of talent. That's you know, that's it. And I think a lot of, you know, this old school recruiter mentality is to, well, I didn't get anything back from that, you know?
Yeah.
So, well, did you get any applicants? Not right now. You know, it's like, you know, especially with 3 out of 4 people always looking for jobs, but they won't always just jump at the first. You know, it's like dating, isn't it? You've got to wine and dine me a little bit. You know, wine and dine me with content that's specific to me, that's relevant to what my values are, and also that shows me that, you know, your organisation can align with that, and it'll be a great place for me to expand my career.
That's right.
And that's it. You know, and consistently drip feed that. You know, and then when that person's ready, it's like, oh, I'm going to go there because I've seen it every day. So, and I think it's such a powerful thing. It's so great to hear, you know, that you know, you guys are doing it, and it at this level. It's amazing. So, how do you think the role of a recruiter is changing then, with that in mind? You know, with social in mind, with marketing in mind.
Well, I think the recruiter now has to, I said before, that we have to bring the human element to the fore, and I think. Over the past, I don't know, 10, 15 years, you've seen the advent of technology. Recruiters have, in some organisations and external organisations, you know, third parties, have hidden behind email and the kind of tech and become process animals, right? So they're part of the process and moving, you know, a candidate from one place to another, or a bunch of candidates. I think now for them to survive, there may be fewer of them because the tech is getting better. But they've got to be armed with that relationship management, without a doubt, with candidates and hiring managers. So it's building trust and credibility based on the stuff we've talked about, which is, you know, knowledge of the market, whether that's called data, but, you know, what is your insight into your particular niche or market or geography or whatever it is you're talking about, and then being able to use that to influence the organisation to say, well, actually, I know you recruited this guy 5 years ago. Guess what? The market's moved on now, and we've got a bunch of people that look a bit like this, but they won't tick all your boxes. You know, because we know all the CEB research and Gartner research is that jobs are getting harder to fill, especially in tech and especially in, you know, certain markets. But that doesn't mean to say the candidates aren't out there. You know, I mean, it's just the fixed mindset of managers or organisations say, I've got to tick all the boxes, and so those skills have got to come to play into a recruiter. And I think that the agility to kind of, you know, if you're in a particular niche like tech, you know, software engineers. It's building those relationships and understanding that market, less so than it is probably about the hiring manager, because it's more about finding the talent than securing it. You know, it's kind of nurturing it. Whereas with some hiring managers, it's about changing their mindsets about the landscape. So, but it's about relationship. You know, it's got to be a relationship. Obviously, they've got to be tech savvy and they've got to be, you know, understand how it works. But it's not. You know, I think it comes back to this relationship. You know, managing expectation, knowing the market, driving insight into the organisation. Otherwise, you know, we could automate it.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
And so when you so just to pick up on that business point of view and being essentially like a consultant to the business, how do you find the business receives, you know, internal recruitment as a function?
Well, I think it's mixed, isn't it, in across all organisations, and that comes down to kind of the positioning and the resource levels. Because, you know, if you're kind of thinly resourced, you can, you know, in fairness to recruiters, you can only churn through work. But I think it is about demonstrating that leadership and saying, well, hang on, you know, just because you're a hiring manager does not mean the answer is Michael Page have told you this is the case, right?
Exactly.
As an in-house recruiter, we've got a much broader view of the market, more tools, in fairness, to go and find that insight or knowledge, and it's the ability to demonstrate that. So I think, you know, there, more and more in-house resourcing is showing this, you know, and organisations are seeing resourcing as a key plank of that talent strategy. Some don't, but we're on that kind of it's still a relatively young industry.
Yeah, it really
20
is.
years, 25 years, except in the graduate space. So I think but it is all about that demonstration and leadership. So if you've got leadership backing, you've got good leaders, you will still see the flywheel tip.
I think also, it brings back to your point around the role of a recruiter, around the data. So what I found whenever, dealing with, MDs within Accenture and, having to sort of steer, I guess the hiring process in a different way, or even just educate, if I didn't have the data to back it up, then it would just be just my opinion, and so it's the data is always, I think one of the things I always say is the data never lies, right? So if you have the data to back up that this is the right way to go.
Well, also I'd say there's a spin on that is the data tells you kind of something, and it might be a signpost to some questions, but the senior hiring community, if you don't have the data, they won't trust you. Often they don't care about the data, it's the story behind it. Right?
Yeah,
so you go, look, there's some data, they go, oh, okay. But you need to tell that story of what that data is telling them, or the questions you need to ask.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think that's, because, there's that whole kind of phrase, big data, and we need to get, actually, it's relevant data, not big data.
Exactly.
What's relevant to that hiring manager is more important than all the other data you may have. But it's being able to sift through it, and we have got lots of data in-house resourcing. Often we don't know how to use it or what to pick on.
Yeah, and actually that's great, because it brings me on to the question is, how well do you track, your candidates from entry to offer, or to rejection, or
in Nationwide.
to
Well, in Nationwide, and I was at Crillian previously, used to track it all the way through, right? We still do, but I think there's key elements, and it will be different for different roles. So volume is more about conversion than it is about time. Critical roles, it's about time and quality and experience of the managers, and then that data will only ever give you the questions to ask about whether it's going right or wrong, or why it's worked so well there and not there. Is just a question that you need to go and deep dives. And again, that's the role of the resourcing leader and managers, is to say, right, okay, we've got, this is happening, we need to go and investigate. The why, ask the why, not the data's telling this, it must be X. It's about being a bit more sophisticated and getting on behind it, because it could be 101 reasons, right? And then collaborating with the managers to fix the problem, because it's not always recruitment that's the problem.
No, of course. But we are the first to get the blame.
Absolutely.
That's great. So let's talk about the recruitment agency world. What's your perception of the recruitment agency world, and do you feel like the recruitment agent is still relevant, and do you feel like obviously I don't know what your experience is with recruitment agencies, but I'd like to understand and get a holistic view from you, what your thoughts are on the recruitment agency world, and then I'll just bounce off some questions from there.
Recruitment agency world, so it has been one of the last sort of third party to adapt, third party kind of service providers. I think it is adapting and will have to. So I think not dissimilar to our world. They won't ever disappear.
Do you enjoy dealing with them?
Depends, right? Depends who they are. So the ones that can demonstrate real market knowledge or niche kind of insight are by far and away the ones that we want to deal with, right? So if it's something that we find hard to fill or can't fill, or time pressure or whatever, that's the tick in the boxes, right? But they have to demonstrate with real understanding and data why they're saying what they're saying, not just as a kind of stick to beat you with because they want you to take that particular candidate.
Because they're specialists.
Yes, because they're specialists. So the old school of, you've got to take this candidate, he's got 5 other job offers, please bring the nails now, I'm going to nail my hands to the floor. Let's have a dialogue and understand it. And equally, organisations need to be able to deal with recruitment companies properly.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
You've got to be fair, and you've got to treat those, if you've chosen those suppliers, treat them as partners, treat them with respect, give them the time and space to do their job, and don't beat them up unnecessarily. Don't use them as stick to beat with in front of your community. Because if you've chosen them carefully and you know that they're good, they should be given the time to do the job. But they need to kind of, I guess the thing about third-party agencies is they don't understand the full end-to-end process in your organisation, and that's a challenge. So they will say, oh, it's because of salary or because of this. Well, they don't understand the organisational structure and what the impacts of offering someone 20% more is right, down the line in an organisation. So the whole talent agenda. So those ones that are more mature about that and understand it, they're the ones you want to partner with.
How well do you think you can find these really great agencies, and how do you do that?
Well, how do I do it personally? I mean, it's trial and error often, but it is seeking out people who can demonstrate through. We'll ask candidates who they've used, what their experience has been like, rather than just have they found them a job.
Awesome.
Because that's more important. So when I've done PSL reviews before, it is actually some successful suppliers have been kicked off because the candidates have said, look, they found me the job, but I wouldn't want to deal with them again. Because
exactly.
They were just pushy, or whatever the kind of criticisms were. So and they need to align to your values as an organisation, or understand your values and the ways of working. Because organisations, especially big companies, it can be slow and it can be bureaucratic, and that's just big companies, right? I mean, it's not. And whatever the agency might say, oh, you're too slow. It's like, that might be true, but guess what? It's there's stuff to go through in a corporate that may or may not be palatable to someone, right?
Well, that's it. So actually, that's interesting, because it validates something, and I'll tell you exactly what it validates. So as well as running an employer creative agency, we also are launching an app in 2 weeks. And I don't know if you've seen it and dotted about. It's called Recruited. So my opinion on this is that I feel like there isn't a role for a recruitment agency, absolutely, and they're not going to go anywhere soon. I feel like employers like yourself really want to deal with the great agencies, and so do professionals. They want to deal with the great agencies, but that where the friction is that there is just so many, just so many agencies, right? So there's so much lack of information, which is it's the same really as the Net Promoter Score research I just discovered 2-3 years ago. So we've built this platform, which we're launching in 2 weeks. We're in test at the moment, and the platform is basically a careers network. So it enables agencies to be rated and reviewed, enables employers to be rated and reviewed, of course, like Glassdoor, but we've got the agency's point of view, and then it also enables professionals to be rated and reviewed. And so it's literally a social network competitor to LinkedIn. But the real linchpin here is that we're decentralising the PSL. So what we're doing is that people are the PSL, clients are the PSL, employers, are the PSL, and also, people or candidates who've used that agency. And you can post your jobs directly to the highest rated agencies instantly, track it all within the direct message, which is awesome. And so what we're trying to do is, we think that if you give people like the technology to be able to work together more efficiently, and you save yourself time in that whole procurement process of an agency, which may take up to 8 weeks, and you realise they're not actually that good, and you had that job 8 weeks ago, I think it can work. And it might not work. We'll see what happens. But what you're saying validates the fact that you go to peers and you say, to candidates, who did you deal with? What was your experience like? That's really important, that whole experience piece, because that's all we want today. You just want a great experience with an agency, someone who can deliver. A candidate just wants a great experience. The hiring manager just wants a great experience getting someone into their business. That's it. So it's really great to hear that. Candidate experience, how associated that is with employer brand?
Well, you'd hope the two match ultimately. I don't think employer brand's difficult because it's not like a consumer brand, right? And if you're a B2B, your employer brand is again different. So you will need to be careful about associating and giving it kind of lots of kudos like that. But the key to it, the employer brand, is that it should reflect the experiences, the real experiences of employees, what it's actually like, and some aspirational stuff, and therefore the candidates should experience that as part of the process, whether they're successful or not. You know, you'd hope that the two would match up. Now, do they all the time? Probably not, you know, because there's human interaction, you know, and sometimes the tech isn't joined up, and you know, all of that in any organisation. But the aspiration would be there to be consistent and fair, and you know, ultimately, for like going back to the original point, is slick, quick, and I can navigate my way around and make a choice quickly, whether this is the right organisation for me or not, almost before I apply, or you know, at the point of application, go, yeah, okay, well, that's good, I want to progress, rather than having to shoot in the dark.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And how, you know, so on that note, so how slammed do you think internal recruiters are? Because I remember being internal and I was just slammed all the time. I'm not saying I'm not slammed all the time now, but just you know, so there would be, you know, the whole just coordination. Because actually I wasn't doing resourcing, I was just more coordination. So
well, I think the
reporting,
you know, recruiters, I liken it to, they're like the boxers of the HR world, right? You're in a ring and you're fighting more than one person.
Yeah.
You know, you're kind of potentially under attack from more than one person, and sometimes from people outside the ring, because everyone's an expert, right? Even though they're not.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, it's a tough job, Ricky. You've got to be very resilient and very kind of creative in terms of how to find solutions. But again, I think it comes back to leadership and resourcing leadership in some of those organisations to help lift those recruiters' heads above that. You know, we know it's a tough job because, you know, you've got external, got internal, you've got, you know, other stuff that might be going on, and it's stressful for managers, right? You know, managers don't rock up to work and go and make your life a difficulty, but when they have a vacancy, it's the most important thing in the world. So it's that communication piece. But you know, resourcing leadership has to lift the heads of the resourcing team managers, resources, whoever, you know, whoever's in your team, to give them a more purpose and a bigger picture. Because you know, we are so impactful on internal organisations. You know, you get it right, and stuff. You know, it's amazing. You don't necessarily get thanked for it when it goes right.
No,
it doesn't get noticed. But when it goes wrong,
yeah,
it's a car
exactly.
crash,
There's
right?
a lot of people
look at the
knocking
Olympics,
you,
right?
yeah.
Look at the Olympics for the security guards. You know, going back all that time.
Yeah, sure.
You get it wrong, it's disaster.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you know, helping recruiters and team members to kind of understand the impacts and the positive impact they can have on the business is a huge part of what we do, right?
Do you think recruitment, the role of a recruiter, you know, is a desirable, you know, career step or career move?
Yeah, I think so. Because I mean, you know, we see, I mean, seeing it nationwide, you know, lots of people have moved into recruitment and into general HR and into other roles, operational roles, and it's a good grounding, right? Because you have, you know, in any management or business role, relationships are key. If you're not good at relationships in recruitment, then you know, you'd question your ability to do that job. You've got to be able to manage a process or processes, multiple processes or projects, depending on what you're doing, and you've got to, it's delivery. Right?
And the great thing about it as well, I think it's the only corporate role that's external facing, isn't it? You
Absolutely.
know?
It's
So,
sales, right?
Exactly,
So,
that's it.
So you've got to be part sales and part kind of marketing and part, you know,
that's it.
part human resources.
And that's an interesting one, because that's how I like, you know, I alluded to earlier, the role of a recruiter changing, because it's less about, you know, just the network and the contact now. It's like, you know, the strategic element. Even if you are, you know, right down to junior resource, so you still have to strategize how you're going to proceed. You know, and it's management of that pipeline.
Yeah.
You know, it's, as you said, marketing, and it's also, you know, very data heavy today. You know, that whole, you know, looking at data, because you I'm sure that yourself with your teams, you'll be, you know, going through reports upon reports, right? So you know, that's why I feel like as a career step now today, I feel like, you know, right now, as you said, it's great to hear that people are moving into it, but I feel like in the future people are really gonna desire to go into it, you know. And
Let's
I think,
hope so.
yeah, well, let's hope so, exactly, because there's a 12,000 skills shortage in recruiters at the moment, but that's part agency side too. So, you know, that's probably there. Awesome. Okay, should we go into our next segment? Our next segment's off recruitment, and it's into previous news of a previous day. So it could be any time in the past. We're just going to talk about news from the past. And Liam has selected. I don't know. We haven't. Well, I'm not prepped here myself. So
four quite unique topics on this one. So Jamie Oliver wants to ban cartoons on unhealthy cereals. Thoughts?
Okay, what do you think about that? Jamie Oliver wants to ban cartoons on unhealthy cereals.
He does. I'm with Jamie on that one.
Really?
Well, I'm with it. I mean, for his whole crusade about healthy food and cooking, right? So I think we are the most obese nation in Western Europe, and it's we could talk about activity and but it's more about the food we eat, and I think people are losing, or schools or whatever, losing the ability to cook, and there's access to fresh food and all of that. But I think we need to discourage the generation away from sugary foods, right?
But I'm not being funny. So I somewhat agree, but I don't in some ways. But the only reason is because I'm slightly being selfish here. Because I remember when I was, and probably the meals are much healthier now in school. But when I was, in school, I used to have pizza, chips, and beans every single day. That was my meal. That was my meal. And I used to love it, So I used to really enjoy that, and I've got fond memories of that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I understand that that's no way to be. Because to be fair, when I get home, I'd be having wholesome meals, right? So I wouldn't just be continuously having that. Yeah. But I used to absolutely love it, and I remember also cornflake tart. Do you remember cornflake tart? Yeah. Absolutely lovely cornflake tart. What's the next one on the news?
The next one. So, footballer Raheem Sterling has been criticised in the media for a tattoo of an AK-47 on his leg. Is that acceptable for a role model to have something like that?
I think it's difficult. I mean, he's got reasons. I mean, his father was shot.
Really?
His father was shot.
Really?
And it's apparently a commemoration of his father. I think the tabloids once again, show themselves to be the sensationalists that they are.
I know.
And Raheem Sterling didn't ask to be a role model, right?
Exactly. It's his body. He's just a talented geezer. Like he's just a talented person.
He does charity work a lot. Unions fans. He is a role model. But
exactly. I think it's just maybe they were struggling to figure out what we're going to put out today. We need to fill the quota. Raheem Sterling's got a tattoo on his leg. Let's put that one out. Yeah, let him do what he wants. Yeah. Who does he play for anyway?
Man City.
Man City. And England. So he'll be in the World Cup this year, will he?
He's in the squad.
Starting.
Who are we tipping for the World Cup? By the way, I don't know football, but I love World Cup.
I don't know. I get Brazil or Belgium, right?
Yeah,
Belgium?
that's what I said last night.
Belgium?
Brazil or
Yeah, Belgium quality.
Are they?
Yeah, got quality.
That's a new one.
Yeah.
Well, obviously not a new country, but I'm just saying it's a new one. New one.
They're going to be the gold
I
nation.
think they're good. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Small nation as well.
Yeah.
Great. Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Cool. What's the next one?
Next one, Matt LeBlanc is leaving Top Gear. Who would be the best replacement to?
Oh, Matt LeBlanc is leading.
I don't watch Top Gear, so I don't know.
I wonder if they're regretting getting rid of Jeremy Clarkson and the squad.
Maybe a female. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Progressive,
I mean, to be fair, the viewership will probably go up, and it will do.
Gabby Logan could do it.
Gabby Logan, yeah.
I don't know who that is. See, I'm not really.
Sports presenter,
Oh, really? Oh, that's why I wouldn't know. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I should do it. Can you put my hat in the ring for that?
Top Gear BBC, but
See if you can just contact the producers. No, yeah, definitely. Female should be on there. Absolutely. Yeah, it's just too male-dominated, that show. Great.
Last one. So Tommy Robertson's been in the news. He got arrested.
So he's from Luton.
He is EDL.
EDL.
Yeah, he got arrested for broadcasting when he's not allowed to or court doing the work.
It was contempt of court, wasn't it?
It is contempt, and the fact of the matter is that the reason there's stories circulating, right? So the reason. He thought that the court was the whole trial was over and they were sentencing, but actually it was the third stage of the trial. But maybe he just done it for a sensational sort of thing.
He's a sensationalist and he's not a nice character. Right?
Exactly, that's it.
He's stirring up, criticism. The tabloids are stirring up Islamophobia, and that's not acceptable.
It's not acceptable at all.
And if he's in contempt, if we're in contempt of court, it wouldn't make the papers, right?
To be fair, every single thing that he does is all centred around bigotry and racism, so he deserves to be where he is, to be honest. So
good, yeah, not long enough.
Exactly, that's it. Awesome, really good to have you on the show, John. Thanks very much for coming in. So this show will be aired end of next week.
Okay.
So I will send it over to you. But yeah, great to have you on the show, and all the best with everything. Let's stay in touch. Cheers, buddy.